Hey, everybody, I'm Josh Olive with Haven Comics. It's Thursday night, which means it's time for Haven Comics Shop Talk, and we have got a really fun show for you tonight. So stick around and hit that like button, all that jazz while we play the intro. Hey, everybody. Another big shout out to Nick Ellis of Two Brothers Comics for making that awesome intro video for us. It makes me happy every single time I play it. And sometimes I play it just for fun. I'm not going to lie. I just pop online for no other reason than that. And speaking of things that we shouldn't be doing at all, let alone in front of other people, I'd introduce you to my co host, Alan. What you up to, dude? What are you pointing out? Who gets a car?
Y'all are way too kind tonight. I absolutely love it. I do want to start out with a public service announcement. For those of y'all that watched us last week, y'all know that we talked a lot about No One by Kyle Higgins. I did see where No One is now officially going to a second print. I've read the book. I know Josh has read the book. If you have not picked up the book, you need to pick it up. It is a great read. Which now leads me to my second.
It hasn't come out yet.
When is it? Wait a minute. I thought it came out this week.
Well, okay, it came out this week. You're normally a week behind. So I thought you were just referring to the he sent us, while we were in the middle of the show, he sent us a PDF preview.
Oh, yeah. I felt really special.
Now, did you also go on and listen to the podcast?
And I probably spent about 30 to 45 minutes on that text editor trying to crack the code on Twitter. If y'all have not seen what I'm talking about, go follow the Drop DL on Twitter and then follow the other links to actual No One's Twitter feed. You'll see what I'm talking about then. But let me turn this down. I don't think y'all want to hear the Jetsons car all night long. That leads me to my next public service announcement. When you're picking up No One, make sure you pick up your copy of Hunt, Kill, Repeat.
Indeed.
You know what? I'm going to say this before Mark actually comes on. Guys, I love this book. Halfway through it, in my mind, I was already casting who I wanted to play Artemis in the movie. This was a fantastic read. Do not miss out on this book. So with that being said, I'd say we bring the man on himself.
Well, first, let's say hey to who we got in the chat. It looks like we're here. Congratulations to us.
We're always here.
We've got Two Brothers Comics. What's happening, Nick? Hope everything is going well, brother. We got Bill Fisher in the house. How you doing, Bill? Gio, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Blue Hellion coming from Nebraska on his way to Kansas City for Planet Comic-Con. Dude, thanks for tuning in while you're on your way. Big shout out from Gio to Two Brothers. That's awesome. Hey, Kaylisa's got here. We got HR in the house, so watch your language, everybody. And she says a lot of fun looking books in this week's delivery because she does our receiving every week, and that is dead on accurate. We've got a lot of great books in this week. So let us not hesitate to take advantage of all the time we have with our special guest. I want to introduce you guys tonight. We've got Mark London here. He's the CEO, Chief Creative Officer of, I know CEO and Chief Creative Officer don't, if you're into acronyms, those are not the same. He's got two different roles, one of which is CEO. The other is Chief Creative Officer of Mad Cave Studios, which is an awesome publishing company, and we're going to bring him on. So, Mark, how are you, sir?
Hey, guys, how are you?
Everybody gets an applause except for me. What's up with that?
I don't know. You have to talk to Alan. He's the one that brings in the applause.
It should still be. There we go. Now it's kicked off the way it's supposed to.
I don't even know where he's keeping these files. That's the problem.
And to be honest with you, since I messed up your applause, I deserve this.
Boo! Boo!
That sounds like you just recorded Nick Ellis.
Actually, I saved that one specifically for when Nick Ellis from Two Brothers Comics comes on the show again.
That's fair. That's fair. So, Mark, before we get too deep into what you're doing right now and all that stuff, uh, everybody who pops in, everybody who watches this show loves to hear a good origin story. We're all a big fan of how did somebody get to be a nerd? How did they get to be involved in this industry that we love? Because we all have a different story here. So, what is what's your origin story? How did you go from little kid playing on the playground to comic books to hey, I'm going to write and publish comics?
I think that I've always had like this fixation with storytelling and with movies in general and animation. I grew up in the 80s, so it was a great time to be exposed to all sort of media in terms of gaming and movies and animation and comic books and everything. So I think that for me it was, yeah, I think that it was such a great time that everything that came out was kind of like magical. I think that we didn't know better at that time, so everything was just like so great. So yeah, I think that I've been a huge nerd for as long as I can remember because I really like this stuff. I mean, this stuff really moves me, and I'm passionate about it, especially world building in general, writing characters, writing scripts. But as you start growing up, you know that life takes its toll, and then you get into a little bit more of on the mundane stuff and doing your 9 to 5 and trying to get serious, especially back in those days. I mean, comic books and everything that had to do with pop culture was a little bit frowned upon in terms of like, oh, you're supposed to be a lawyer, you're supposed to be a doctor, you're supposed to be an engineer or a business person, and I guess that I kind of fell the pressure and that I started to divert from my true path. And then after college, I was doing again my 9 to 5 job, guess that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, but it wasn't something that really moved me, and it wasn't really my passion. So one day I basically just told my wife, listen, I need to scratch this itch because it's never going to go away. So, and I don't want to be that guy that wakes up one day when life has passed by and you're just like, hey, why the hell did you start sooner? And she was like, okay, if this is something that you really want to do, I mean, by all means, I'll support you. Let's do this. And I was like, okay, fine. Well, you said yes,
well,
so
first
it's
of
also
all,
on
kudos
you.
to your wife. Not all
Oh
wives
yeah,
are
she's
that
great.
understanding.
No. Mine is the best, and I get it. So every day I try not to disappoint her with everything that we're doing at Mad Cave. So yeah, I have a big commitment to her and to everybody that works for the company. So yeah, she was super supportive, and but it was supposed to be Mad Cave at first, Josh. It was supposed to be something for me in terms of like, okay, I like writing. I was into script writing, into screenplay, and I kind of wanted to do some projects just for myself. So I decided to try to get a few artists on board to kind of like develop those scripts and just put them up on a website, just like for people to just, if they would stumble upon them, it would be like, okay, this is cool, I enjoy it, haters, whatever. But I was just putting like my own stuff out there. But as we started to develop stuff, even from the early days, which were something like Battle Cats or Midnight Task Force, like it started growing, and people that were helping me to develop the website and come up with ways to reach more people, to actually get exposed to every single thing that we were working on. When they kind of like looked at me and was like, hey, you know what? I think that you have something here. Why don't you make a business out of it? And I was like, well, okay, it wasn't the plan, but I guess like, okay, we're gonna fall through with it. And then started meeting like-minded people, like a person that I adore with my whole heart, Gio, which she's in the chat, and she's been with the company since we've started. She has been my editor in Battle Cats and Wolvenheart, Honor and Curse, Knights of the Golden Sun. and I started meeting people like her, and that really wanted to work in comic books, that really loved everything that has to do with comic books and this medium and the culture. And I guess that the rest is history, Josh. Publishing title after title, not easy at first. Everything was tinkered and worked on at the cave. Last year, we were doing lots of creator owned, because they really saw what we were doing and they want to work with us. So that was really, really humbling, and it really like made our day. And we're trying to come up with the best stories that we can for you guys.
That's awesome.
Well, I think it's safe to say that every single one of us has benefited on some level from your wife saying yes.
Yes.
So she definitely deserves a big hug for that.
Yeah. Take her out to dinner, for sure.
I need to, yes. And after this, for sure.
Just make sure other people appreciate her too.
Absolutely, you're right.
I do have a question though. You decided to come out and develop these stories and create these worlds and build all of these worlds out. And you came up with the name Mad Cave Studios. I figure that had to have come from somewhere. And I keep getting this whole myth of the cave kind of idea, going back to my philosophy class. But what's the origin of Mad Cave Studios? How did that name come about?
That's a very interesting story, because Mad Cave was supposed to be like a passion project, a personal project, and I've grown and love comics. Actually, Mad Cave was called Bat Cave at first, and we even designed the logo. Yeah,
love it.
And it was supposed to be the Bat Cave, and it was actually my son Felipe who he had in his, I think it was in his PlayStation network. He actually had like, okay, Bat Cave Studios. So one day when I was like, okay, we need a name to put up like your comics or scripts or the little art that you're going to be producing, we need to attach it to something. So I was like, hey Felipe, do you mind if I steal that name from you? I mean, Bat Cave Studios, that sounds awesome. And we had this designer, and he designed the logo for it, and he was like, okay, great, passion project, personal project, okay, who cares, Bat Cave. And then when everything started picking up and we really turned it into a business, we were like, well, I don't think that the folks at Warner or DC Comics are going to be very happy. We tried to register a trademark, which is basically Bat Cave. And so, but we had all the logos and we had everything in place, and we were like, okay, no, we need to change the name. But I really, really like the logo and everything that happens in a cave. Everything that I think that the most primitive art started in a cave. So the first stories that we told to each other happened in a cave. So many things from the creative aspect of things, they happen in a cave. So we're like, I don't want to lose the cave. But again, yes, we're going to have problems with DC. So what the hell are we going to do? And then I also think it was my son who actually came out with Mad Cave, and he was like, okay, you know how the youngster was like, yeah, Dad, I mean, Mad Cave also has like so many different ways that you can use it, I mean, in terms of creativity, and something is mad, so something might be rad and everything. So I was like, okay, and that's how we came up with the Mad Cave name.
That's awesome. I figured there had to be something behind it. I never would have drawn the Bat Cave connection at all. I never would have come up with that.
And to be honest with you, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. He's already a better father than I am. I never would have told my son, "Hey, do you mind if I use that?" I would have been like, "Hey, boy, that's mine now. Change your name. It's mine. I'm declaring eminent domain because you live in my house. Therefore, your intellectual property belongs to me now." So kudos to you and your wife.
Clearly, that's a family that's communicates well together and supports each other. We're all dysfunctional, Alan. I think that we should just aspire to be like the London family.
We try. Again, those are just happy moments. I mean, I also have horror stories, but okay, we're all dysfunctional. You're right, Josh.
I also have horror stories.
So, yeah.
awesome.
As far as Hunt, Kill, Repeat is concerned, can you take us through your creative process on how you come up with that idea for that particular story? Because that is definitely a twist that I've never seen. Or, it's familiar because we're dealing with Greek gods, but at the same time, it is like fresh and brand new. And me personally, I never would have figured Zeus would be an ass, but he is. So I was just kind of like, wow, okay, he's a jerk.
No, I've read a fair bit of Greek philosophy or Greek mythology, and Zeus is an ass. Yeah.
I'm a Clash of the Titans kid, so
I get it.
But could you kind of take us through a little bit of the creative process on how you come up with that story?
Well, sure. A couple of years back, I remember that I walked into Matt Cave's publisher's office, Chris Fernandez, and I kind of like pitched him the story. And I pitched him the story, but the story was supposed to be a revenge story. I wanted to tell a revenge story for the longest time, kind of like assassins, very skillful individuals with over-the-top abilities. And then I kind of like told him, and I was like so passionate about the idea. And for some reason, we kind of like just started talking about Greek mythology, and we kind of like shared that passion that it was like so good. And we mentioned Clash of the Titans, and we basically just went, okay, we started talking a little bit about God of War and how mythology was amazing. So I remember that he was on board with the revenge story. And he was like, okay, I think that you can make it work. But for some reason, I mean, the conversation that we had regarding Greek mythology was so rich and so great that I was like, you know what? I think that probably I can just craft this revenge story around the gods and how are they a real dysfunctional family? Because as you were saying, Josh, I mean, who doesn't have a dysfunctional family? But imagine these overpowered beings that get fed up with humanity because they have been cast aside, because now humanity is infatuated with technology. And one day they just decided to invade us and just teach us who's boss. So I kind of like went with the familiar tropes, but I was like, okay, how can we make it fresh? And how can we bring a trope, which is Greek mythology, and try to really plant it in our everyday lives? And I guess that's what came out of the creative process, and that's what gave birth to Hunt, Kill, Repeat.
It's such a great story, and I love that kind of twisting things around a little bit on their head. That's a great way of approaching a story, is saying, all right, here's this idea, but how do I turn the kaleidoscope until it's just exactly the story the way I want to present it? You guys definitely hit on it in this one for sure. I am with Alan. This was one of my favorite books that has come out lately. I really enjoyed it.
Now, one thing that I really did like is we're kind of getting a little bit of a glimpse, kind of like flashbacks of Artemis and Julian's story, like how they met and everything. I like that because it's making me invest in their characters, invest in their relationship some. Will we see that throughout the entire series? I mean, is that something that you're going to kind of explore, or are we just going to get like little glimpses here and there?
You're going to get little glimpses here and there. Of course, right now we have Artemis set in this violent path of revenge, payback for the least, but we really have planned for a bigger story that you can really start seeing, I mean, what's really behind the curtain. And that's going to be determined by the fans. If they really enjoyed the series and we can continue it, you will absolutely see more of that stuff.
Okay, yeah, like I said, that was I don't know, for whatever reason, when I first turned the page and I see him underneath the bridge painting, and she's like there, and I'm just kind of like, okay, did I miss something? Okay, we're having a flashback. Then it hit me what was going on. I was like, okay, wow, this is a nice touch. Now you're telling me why I should care about these two characters. And I did really like that about the book. As far as Artemis is concerned, and I know that you can't give away too much, and I don't want you to give away too much. And if you need to tell me offline or call me, you just tell me offline and call me. That's fine. Because I don't care about spoilers. When Artemis reaches, and for those of you who have not read the book, number one, shame on you. Number two, mute me now because I'm about to give you a spoiler. When Artemis reaches full power, are we going to like slowly build up to that, or is that something that she's just going to wake up one day just as mad as she can possibly be? You know, because they're kind of taking her somewhere because she's kind of low on blood. You know, she's needing the help. I mean, you kind of left me. You left me hanging with the first issue. So I'm kind of wondering: are we going to get like a gradual power up? Are we slowly going to build that character, or is it just going to be nope? You have killed my husband. You know what? Now I know what's going on with who apparently I think that person is at the end of the book, and it's just kind of like it's time for me to handle business.
You're definitely going to see a progression of, I mean, it's going to be her journey, and you're going to see how she is going to gain a certain advantage or a certain way to actually approach meeting up her siblings and going toe to toe against her siblings. Because in the first issue, she kind of like, I don't want to spoil it too much, but yes, I mean, she kind of like loses her powers. So it's not like she becomes kind of like a demigod. So of course, I mean, her family is going to be overpowered. So what is she going to need to do, or who's going to help her to actually try and accomplish her task or aid her in her mission? And in issue 2, all those questions that you're asking, Alan, they're going to be answered. And you're going to see a little bit more of those flashbacks and more of her life after she invaded Earth, and why she changed, and why she fell in love. So I think that issue 2 really takes the story to a whole new level.
Okay, so I got one more question about that, and then we got a question from somebody watching. So as far as, are we going to see, I'm trying to figure out how the proper way to word this. For lack of a better way to word it, with Artemis kind of losing her powers from the point where she invaded Earth to where we actually see her in the comic book now, are we going to get that story of kind of like her fall from grace, for lack of a better word, like why she actually lost those powers? Was it due to the fact of her falling in love, or like her just giving them up? I mean, are we going to, I need more answers than what you gave me in the first.
And this is where you're going to find out, Mark, what Alan really has a problem with is patience.
Yeah,
especially at the end of the book. If there's any kind of a cliffhanger whatsoever, he's like, "Oh, but why? You can't leave me here."
But see, here's the thing: when I lose my patience, wanting to know what happens next, I know that I truly enjoyed it.
Yep.
Nice.
Nice. I truly enjoyed that book.
You're making me a happy man with that notion. Well, I mean, I can't tell you right now because, again, I would be spoiling the story for you. Unfortunately, I can tell you after we're done, and I can call you and let you know. But I think that you should really try to just like read issue by issue, and you will definitely have a blast, and you will get all your answers. I promise, Alan.
I'm looking for my boo button. Hang on a second.
Yeah, we'll be discussing a comic, and he's like, "But you can't just end it there. Why did you do that to me?" And I'm like, "So you'll come back next month."
Exactly. It's cliffhangers for us are really what keeps us alive. I mean, writers, that's how we really keep you guys coming back. Hopefully that we can do enough damage in a good sense of a word with issue 1 or issue 2 or issue 3, but I always try really, really hard to leave you guys with a cliffhanger at the end of each issue. And hopefully by the end of the arc, you guys will have like a satisfying conclusion.
Well, you guys were both raised in the 80s, the same as me, right? So,
yeah.
Did you ever watch the old reruns of Lost in Space? You know, Danger, Will Robinson, Danger. You remember those?
Yeah.
Do you remember that those would end like with the most cliffhangers ever? Like the main guy would be like, "Oh no, I have to save you," and he would leap, and it would just literally stop with him in midair.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah. They would cut it.
What are you doing? You can't do that.
See, for me personally, you had me bought completely into the story when the little vendor gets his cart kicked over and a bootleg gun falls out. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? No, this is like the sweet little old man. How bad is this that he's got to be smuggling arms and crap? I need to know more. And then you hit me with the cliffhanger, and I'm like, I don't like this. I need the full story now. I have a wonderful idea, and I think Mad Cave should be the first company to do it. Put out the trade paperback before you put out the individual issues. That would help me tremendously. But we do got this question from Bill. It says, what's it like being a CEO and writing a story? It sounds like you're pretty busy.
Yes, a little bit. It's not easy. Different hats, but look, I think that at Mad Cave has the best group of talented people in the industry, and I get tremendous amount of help. So when I'm not doing the CEO thing, when I'm writing, I mean, everybody's giving it their all. Everybody's giving it 100%. So it's a team effort. So that's really my secret. That's really how I'm able to do it.
Now, do you have to set aside time specifically for writing, or is it, basically, for lack of a better way to put it, once the creative juices start flowing, you just automatically go to writing, no matter what you're doing?
No, Alan. It has to be organized. I mean, you have to be focused. You have to try to make time to write. So if you're writing, you're writing. If you're running the company, you have to run the company. Sometimes, I mean, doing both things, it's brutal. Sometimes because we are pressed against time or we're on a deadline, I would be at the office and making rewrites or trying to concentrate. Not easy, not recommended. I usually try to set time that is going to be like, okay, I'm going to leave for the rest of the day. I'm just going to lock myself in my office and go full goblin mode and try to knock this script out of the way. But just, I mean, full with the writer's cap, no distractions, because then that's when you run into trouble. And I have, the editors that Mad Cave Studios have right now, I mean, they don't miss a beat. So if you're going to give them lazy writing or you're going to rush or hack the job, I mean, they would call you on it. They don't care if there's the CEO title next to my name. They're just going to be like, oh, you said you want to be a writer. Oh, you're writing. Okay, so you're giving me your shit. Okay, now it's payback. So that's why I'm trying to be nice to everybody. Yeah, exactly. Like, what? So be like, so it really has to be like.
I want to meet Gio now because that sounds so great.
And then
oh my God,
and then you got an idiot like me who's screaming on the other end, going, "No, that's not enough. Give me more now."
Yeah, and they don't wait. Oh my God, Gio is the sweetest girl, but she's so professional. And again, she was always the first one calling me on my bullshit. You see, I mean, everybody takes their own pleasure. I mean, even at this company, I mean, so yeah, you might have CEO next to your name, but that doesn't mean jack at Mad Cave.
So does she ever walk up to you and say, "Hey, I really got to talk to you about one of our writers"?
Yeah.
He keeps turning into crap. And by the way, it's you.
But yeah, I mean, and no, and to be honest, sometimes again, because yes, and this is one thing that I have to address is that yes, sometimes because you're running the company and because you're doing other things, sure. I mean, deadlines have been missed, not setting the right example, and something like, what's up with you, dude? I mean, what's up with Mark London? I mean, that guy doesn't hit any mark. I mean, so no excuses. So now what I try to do, Alan, really is going back to your question, is really like trying to set time and try not to delay the books. Because remember that comic books, I mean, it's a team effort, and you have an artist that is just waiting for your freaking pages to get started, and he gets paid only if he draws. So if you are a week late, 2 weeks late, a few days late, he's gonna be at home being like, dude, you're playing with my food here. So this is respectful. I mean, we need to try to get into that mindset that everything has to try to work like clockwork. Sure, things happen, things get missed sometimes, but there's no excuse. And as Gio was saying, is because she felt bad because I was like, yeah, I mean, I just can't do it. I need to do it. It's if you're telling me that you're gonna do this, then you better do it. And I put myself in that boat.
So I think I told you before we started that my introduction to Mad Cave Studios was really different from any other publisher that I have ever been introduced to before.
I'm dying to hear the story.
So I got to share this with you because it was really interesting. I had a guy call me up, and at first I thought maybe it was a prank call or something, right? He calls me up and he says, "Hey, I want to order a bunch of copies of an indie comic book. Would you do that for me?" And this is a guy I've never met before. He's not a customer at the shop, nothing. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay, yeah, I'm happy to order what you want, but this is kind of strange. Um, what do you want to do here? And he says, all right, there's this company called Mad Cave Studios. They've got a book out called Battle Cats, and I want to I want to order 27 copies of this book. And I said, okay, what gives? And he says, well, I went to a convention and I met these guys, and they were the coolest guys I've ever met, the coolest, nicest guys I've ever met, and I want to help them be successful.
Wow.
So I want to order 27 copies, and it was very specific about that number. 27 copies of Battle Cats #1. And I said, okay. And so he orders them. He comes in, he pays for them when they show up. And he took 2 copies for himself. And he said, I want you to give those other 25 copies to anybody at your store you think would like them and who might read the series and support these guys.
No freaking way.
That is 100% accurate.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I just got goosebumps, Josh. Holy shit.
I've never had somebody do anything remotely like that before. But I've met these guys. Wow. They were the nicest, coolest, most genuine guys. I want them to be successful, so I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And that's what he did. That's what he did. And then he's been a customer at my store ever since.
Wow, Josh.
But that
I need to meet this person. I need to know who this person is now.
I was like, what? Whoever this is, I want to support him just because somebody else is this passionate about it, right? So we have carried every single Mad Cave Studios book you guys have put out from day one.
Wow, thank you, Josh.
Because of this guy. And it's, you know, as well as I do, when you're in previews and you're kind of buried at the back, it can be very hard to differentiate yourself from everybody else who's around you. And people are like, well, I never heard of these guys before. Why should I read their stuff? Right. So you got to battle through all of that noise. And for somebody to walk in out of the blue and say, I want to support a company that's you're going to find back here in the back of previews that you've never heard of before, just because they were so cool and they were so nice and I enjoyed meeting them so much. That got my attention really fast. Yeah, so we gave away 25 copies of Battle Cats #1 to our readers at the shop, just to say, hey, if this is something you want to try, this is why this is in your box. This is why you were given this book. And so people they kind of got invested in it just from that. It was really cool.
Wow, Josh. I mean, I'm floored with that story. I mean, please extend everything. I mean, to this guy, whoever it is. If you already have him as a customer, I mean, please. I mean, tell him thank you from the bottom of my heart. He didn't want us to
tell anybody who he was, but I'll check with him and see if it's okay if I pass his contact information over to you if you like.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I need to tell him thanks face to face or through socials or email or whatever. But again, what a story, Josh. That's what you see. That's why I love our community. That's really why I really like what I do, because I think that we have the best community in the world. I mean, it's amazing, Josh.
See, I'm glad you said that, because this actually goes back to kind of a conversation that we had in the chat on Two Brothers Comics a few weeks ago. And it seems like ever since we had this conversation, ever since then, somebody has referenced about how the best part of our hobby, so to speak, is the community itself. You know what I mean?
It is.
If we didn't have what y'all were doing, we would not have the community. And if we didn't have the community, we wouldn't have what y'all are doing. I mean, it's almost like a perfect circle of events.
I'm with you 100%.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It is a perfect circle. He was so impressed with you guys that he did this, and now you hear about this, and you're like, well, that guy's amazing. Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that. But that was just the coolest introduction to any company that I've ever had, by far. Wow. By far, it was really cool, and that meant a lot to me. So yeah, we have carried every single book you guys have put out.
What an amazing story, Josh! Thank you. I mean, it's you just made my day with this. Thank you for telling me that story.
Well, Bill, I was desperate to share it with you because I knew you probably didn't know that.
No.
And it's the coolest thing. I thought it was great. But yeah, Bill Fisher has got a great question, and I'm curious about this too. One of the more popular books from any publisher at my store is Nottingham. Everybody loves it. So yeah, when this was pitched to you, what was your reaction to this? I mean, that's a heck of a book. It's a different take for sure, right? So how did you? So what? When you're sitting here like, you tell me what you got, and they tell you, and you're like, you people are insane. Or you're like, holy smokes, yes, but what if we did this and this? I mean, what was your reaction to this?
Well, it's great that you're mentioning Nottingham, because actually Nottingham, and going back to the community and going back to all the wonderful people that read comics and that really want to break into the industry. I don't know if you guys know this, but Mad Cave Studios has a talent search contest every year.
One of the things I was going to bring up in a minute, because we have some aspiring writers and artists at the store that I have been trying to push that direction.
Perfect. So I don't know if you know this, Josh or Alan, but actually the writer and the artist of Nottingham are talent search winners.
Oh, wow. So I did not know that.
Okay. So it's two amazing folks, David Hassan and Shane Connery-Volk, that they actually submitted to the talent search and they won. And what we do with talent search winners is we kind of tell them the story that we want them to develop. What do they need to be working on? But in this case, we kind of had like a loose, like noir assassin tale that we wanted to tell. And David just run with it. David and Shane just run with it with the idea. They came up with it. First, it was going to be called like Nottingham Noir, because we really wanted to dig deep in that. But then it was just Nottingham. And it was your crazy twist on the Robin Hood tale. And it blew up, caught everybody by surprise. Everyone loves it. I mean, that book is so successful for us. And look, it came from 2 talent search winners that had never been published in comics. And that's really, yes, the book is amazing. Love Nottingham. But what I love most is really, really how that book was made and who made that book. That really, really is the highlight of the success of that series.
Well, one of my other favorite series that you guys put out was also by a talent search winner, if I recall correctly, Savage Bastards, David Galliano.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
That was a great book. I love the way that it was like you're expecting X and you get X, but you get Y, and you're like,
yeah,
wait a minute, I have to reread this now. And that's one of my favorite things in the world, is something that takes me a little bit by surprise. It's just got that little bit of a twist, so that I have to go back and say, let me reread that and pay attention to it again the second time. And now I see the little clues are laid out here now.
Yes.
But yeah, we've had David Galliano on the show probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's been a bit, but yeah, he was on the show and he was talking about Savage Bastards, and what a great read that was. So yeah, the talent search is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because it's something you guys do and you broadcast and that you put out there. And why other companies aren't doing it, I don't know. I think it's just silly. But we've got some aspiring artists, particularly at Haven, and some guys we know. Tom Price would be one of those. Brian Silverbacks would be one of those guys who have got just undeniable talent. And I'm like, you guys should talk to the guys at Man Cave. So tell us about the talent search. How did you come up with that? How do you execute that? What how do you draw down and say, well, these are the folks that we got, and I think these guys really have something to bring to the table here? How do you do
Josh.
all that?
Well, at first, I mean, the inception of the talent search is basically giving back to the community. I mean, people support us. It's really, really hard to get your book published. I mean, tell people, hey, can you read 20 pages of a script? I mean, you're going to see them. you will see somebody run fast the other way. So we know how hard it is. So its inception is giving something back to the community, everybody that has supported us. But what we try to do every year is it's kind of like mix it up in terms of what we want. Last year, we included colorists, we included letterers, and that is something that we're going to be trying to do moving forward. At first, with the first batch of winners, which actually was David was one of them, amazing guys, Tony Williams, Jay Sandlin. Those guys I love and I'm going to remember.
That's right, Jay Sandlin. He's done some good stuff. He's a local guy. He's not far away from us. He lives about an hour from here. Yeah,
and also Anthony Cleveland from Show's End. I mean, those guys started with the Mad Cave Talent Search, and again, they're being published by other prestigious publishers, and they're doing their rounds and they're doing everything. So every year, Josh, we kind of try to like, okay, what are we gonna give these new contenders to try to come to the table? So we either give them a little bit of Mad Cave stories that they can get inspired and write a bunch of things here and there, or we even, what we do is we try to get them inspired and bring us a couple of things that they might be into. But at the end, it's a panel of judges that actually just like sit down, reads, analyzes all the art pieces that have been submitted, and we don't even look at the names. We basically are just, I mean, who's the most talented person in the room? And we have 4 spots. We have 3 spots. And everybody basically just casts their votes. And at the end, the person that has the more votes, I mean, those are the talent search winners. The best script, the best art, the best colors, the best lettering, the best samples that are handed in are the ones that are selected every year. And that's how we go about it.
Now, one of the things you said, once you get past that hurdle, you say you win. And for example, I'm a writer first, let's say, and I win and I'm excited. This is great. And then you say, all right, I've got, here's the story we want you to work on. I've built this sandbox. I've put all these pieces in it. I want you to run and play in that sandbox and come back to me with a story. Is that essentially what I'm picking up? How you guys do that?
That's how it's done.
Awesome.
That's how it's done, Josh, because we also don't like, at first it'd be like, okay, here's your blueprint, here's your sandbox of the things that we want. But we also don't want it to become kind of like a cookie cutter process that you can basically just tell, and it's like, no, here's the story and you have to write this word by word, and then you cannot deviate from this. No, we want to see their creativity. We want them to flesh out the story. We want them to actually produce their bare work. Case in point, that's Nottingham. When we first started talking with David and Shane, it was supposed to be, okay, we have a killer, it's going to be in the North setting. This is the way that we have envisioned the things. And he basically just took that content and he made it his own. And he basically just delivered Nottingham, which, again, fantastic. So all those guys, David Galliano, Tony Williams, Jay Sandlin, sure, they were given Anthony, yes, Jared Lujan, also a talent search winner. Those guys were just giving a blueprint of what we wanted, and they basically just run with it.
So for somebody starting out in the industry, I think that's a really interesting way of doing it, right? Because if I'm writing Spider-Man, for example, I've got editorial telling me I want this in here, and I want this in there, and this is the direction this has to go. And I'm like, yes, okay, I bow to your wishes, right? But what you're doing is kind of an interesting mix of the two. You've got a world created, you've got it populated with certain elements, so they have a structure to work within, but then you're not micromanaging it all. You're saying, here's the structure, here are pieces that are in there, go forth and do.
Correct.
And so how you choose to put those together in the picture that you come up with, that's unique to you, right? That's not how I would have envisioned it, not how I would have told the story, perhaps, for good or for ill, right? It's just a different way of looking at it. And so, excellent. This is really cool. And I think that's a really interesting way of helping people who want to do this for a living, who want to get into this, kind of learn and have the freedom at the same time. It's a nice balance.
Well, not
Absolutely,
just that,
Josh.
it also helps keep the stories fresh because you're getting people that you've never read before. So yeah, I like that aspect of it.
Chris, yes, Chris, Film Age Studios. Dude, go check out the Mad Cave Studios talent search. Period. End of story.
So, Mark, you had said something a second ago that I wanted to circle back to. You talked about how Nottingham kind of caught everybody off guard. So this, and I read an article online, and I know that reading articles online often gets us all in trouble, but the article was it was about publishing and putting out comics, and Nottingham was used as an example in this article. And this has been a while back, and it wasn't anything bad. It just talked about how publishers have to be careful with how many copies of a comic book they put out, because if they put out too many, they're kind of just hung out to dry with the cost and everything, and they don't make their money back. And as Nottingham is concerned, they had talked about this one took off that nobody was expecting, and they actually had to go to 2, 3, and 4 additional prints. So when y'all are producing a new comic book, how do y'all determine how many copies you're going to put out for that first initial run? Is there like a formula or anything, or is it just kind of a best guess?
It's hard, of course. The more that you're in the industry and the more that you learn every year, you kind of start getting a sense of your consumer base, of really the fans that support Mad Cave. So you know that you start hitting certain numbers with each release. You start knowing the potential and your reach, and you kind of just like move within those ranges. And then that's how you calculate, your numbers to be profitable and to try to make a viable business out of the series. But sometimes it's tricky. Sometimes, things don't go your way, and you had high hopes for something and it misses the mark. Well, other times, in other cases, like Nottingham, and I think that we went to an 8th printing.
Yep.
which
It went
was
to
which
8th print. Yep.
yeah, so which is was like why? Because again, we didn't have that growth. That basically was just we knew our numbers and we were like, okay, this is what Mad Cave is doing at this time. But then the popularity of the book just skyrocketed, and then you then have to go and try to improvise. But right now, working with Diamond, working with Lunar, working with Simon and Schuster, I mean, you kind of start getting a sense of the people that actually work there, and those are the guys that actually tell you, okay, I can move X, Y, and Z quantity of this book. I think that I can probably hit this market, and I can do that. So you start getting a little bit of help as you start growing as a company, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
So I will say this on behalf of retailers everywhere: please, for the love of all things holy, keep Nottingham as a trade, as a collection out there, because that's an evergreen book. That's not one that you don't have to have anything before it. You don't have to have anything after it. It's a wonderful self-contained story that if I can talk to a customer and say, what kind of things do you like? And they say, well, I like this, 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 and this. And I say, okay, this is a book for you. You need to read this book. Nottingham is one of those they can always come back and read. I will always have somebody I can push that to as long as it's in print. There's a lot of trades that are like that have gone out of print and I can't do it anymore. So I'm like, well, okay, I guess I can't sell that anymore because I'm out of it now and I can't get more. But that one's absolutely one that sells very, very well for us in trade.
Now
awesome,
with
Josh. Not going anywhere. I'm sorry, Alan. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Sorry. With Tales of Nottingham, that is like when I first picked it up, I was like, okay, what's this going to be? And then I read the first issue of it, and I was like, that caught me completely off guard because I was not expecting a companion piece that was actually going to make the original story even richer and deeper. So with Tales of Nottingham, will that eventually become, say, like a collected works? Will that eventually be put into a larger trade, or what? Can you tell us a little bit about the plans? I want some spoilers and I need some dirt. And you didn't help me out at all with Hunt, Kill, Repeat.
No, he did not. He very expertly navigated right around your need.
I mean, I was basically told, yeah, that's classified. Shut up, move on.
So I need to redeem myself now. I need to redeem myself with Alan. Okay, I'm gonna redeem myself.
Just tell him your publishing plans. I think is what he asked you for.
Yeah,
so you should be okay.
No, the plan is a little bit similar to what we did with Battle Cats. Battle Cats is 3 volumes, and then you also have something called Tales of Valderia, which are kind of like add-ons. It adds a little bit more to the overall story. So we kind of took that idea, ran with it. It helps to kind of like beef up the story a little bit more, so you guys can enjoy it. What we're doing, I'm going to tell you this: we're working on 2 Nottingham spin-offs. I'm not going to tell you which characters, but you guys are really, really going to like them. And the plan is that next year, that volume 3, and we're going to be doing a volume 3, which actually just like wraps the series. And then that's going to get a trade, Josh. And then hopefully what we will do is we will make a hardcover collector's kind of like an omnibus that it has like all 3 volumes and probably
just the compendium. Excellent.
A nice compendium, something like that for collectors. Yeah,
I've already got you on the list for that, Alan. I already put that in your sub box.
So that's the plan. I mean,
several folks with that one.
So that's the plan. I mean, of course, Nottingham. I mean, it's such a success. Folks want more. We're gonna give you guys what you want, and stories are coming. More content regarding Nottingham is coming. So you're going to be very happy, Alan.
Okay, thank you. You have officially redeemed yourself.
Glad it's official.
I know he was not going to be able to sleep at night, but that's
I mean, I was like, I fucked it up with Alan. I'm never going to be invited to this show again, ever again.
Yeah. No, I think you're going to be one of the ones that have a standing invitation. I do. There's 2 books that I wanted to ask you about. So we've got Exorcist Never Die getting ready to come out.
Yes.
So freaking good. I got to read a preview.
And see, now I'm officially mad at Josh, so you're off the hook, Mark. So yeah, you're just getting like you're moving up my list. You really are. Can you kind of tell everybody a little bit about Exorcist Never Die and what we could kind of expect on that?
Well, first off, it's written by Steve Orlando, which
Yep.
I think that you guys know pretty well
That's
from
a
now
name
he's
that's
writing.
pretty well known in the industry. Yeah.
That's a name that is pretty well known in the industry, so he doesn't need any introduction. Also, the artist, I think that you also guys know him. It's Sebastian Cruz. He's also, I mean, he's worked for Aftershock. I mean, he's got We Write Titans with Vault. He's got what else has he done? He co-created Black Beacon with Ryan K. Lindsay. I mean, he's just a monster of an artist, and it's such a unique story. So it's basically about two exorcists that they were in a relationship. They're not anymore, or we don't know. And then they have to go into this facility, which is basically, I mean, where demons live. And when they go in, they kind of like, I don't want to spoil it, but I kind of want to spoil it to get you guys a little bit excited. So when they go in, it's kind of they have like this inverted building that actually goes underground. So every level underground to get to their mission and what they need to accomplish, it's a deadly sin. But a deadly sin is personified by a demon. And Steve and Sebastian, they just went nuts with the concepts of all these creatures and everything. So it's really a balls to the wall story, personal, great, action-packed, bombastic, widescreen. I love that book, and you guys are gonna love it too if you're into those sort of stories.
I thought the magic system, if we want to call it a magic system, that's in place in that book is really interesting. I really like that. I like the character building. I like the world building that he did, because he establishes this sense of gravitas and this history that goes back a long ways. And you kind of get the impression these guys have been around for a really, really, really long time. And maybe the title of the book gives that away too. But I thought that was a really fun read. And I will say this too, as a retailer, when we get those retailer previews, that goes a long way toward helping us sell a comic. When we can get a hold of a book and we can read it, and then we can tell people like, no, you're going to want this book. You need to read this book. When somebody comes in and they're like, gee, I don't know. He's like, no, I'll tell you, this is what you want. You're going to want to read this. And that one for me was, that preview copy was really excellent. And it made me very happy to read it. So I appreciate you guys sending out preview copies, because again, not everyone does that.
Get you.
Let's see, the sneak peek was in the back of, was it Tales of Nottingham 1 or Tales of Nottingham 2? It was one of those.
I think it was
Tales
2,
of Nottingham
because
2
I think
just came out.
Yeah.
So
and I could tell in the sneak peek there was a little bit of tension between the two exorcists.
yes,
just a little
bit.
Yes.
But it was just enough to make you go, oh well, now I wonder what's going on here.
Yep.
And then naturally, what I did was, and if he's still watching, I really hope he's still watching, so he'll know what I did after I tell this quick little story. My next trip up to the comic book store, I walked in and I looked at Tom Price and I said, hey, I need you to sign Josh, myself, and Nick Ellis up for Exorcist Never Die. And he said, why Nick Ellis? And I said, because we're going to get 3 different perspectives on this book. So,
of course.
So, Nick, if you're watching, you have a reading assignment now.
I think that book is going to be right up Nick's alley. I think that Nick is gonna enjoy Exorcist Never Die. So we'll see.
Now, speaking of,
so I'm sorry,
other comics you guys have put out. I have a couple things I want to say. First of all, Battle Cats struck me right out of the gate as an interesting book, because in 1992-93, my friends Jeremy Tipton and Robbie Craze and I were working on our own comic book, and it was this world that was populated by humanoid cat type people.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't terribly dissimilar from what you have in Battle Cats. And so reading that was like going back home to an idea that we never did anything with and being like, this is what it could have been. This is great. I get all the joy out of it without any of the work. I still have some of the pictures that we drew back in the day for some of our character designs. I have to hunt those up and scan them in or something because you get.
I love to see them.
I
love to see them,
They're
Josh.
pretty funny.
If you have them handy, I mean, whenever you find them, I mean, I would love to see them.
Yeah, I'll have to dig those up. But I have to say too, a couple other books that you mentioned earlier, and this goes back a little bit further into Mad Cave's publishing history, but Knights of the Golden Sun.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord. And Honor and Curse, right up there as one of my top favorite books from anybody. Loved Honor and Curse. I wouldn't mind seeing some more of that. I mean, I don't know where you go from there, but I'd love to see some more.
I'm trying to, yes, believe me that we've been talking with our publisher, and we're trying to figure out if we can try to get something out, a little bit more out of those stories, or we kind of like bring it back in a different way. I mean, I'm working hard on that.
Yes.
So
that's what I needed to hear. So now you're out of the doghouse with me too.
Okay.
You didn't even know you were in there.
I know. It's just like, okay, good. I'm taking notes.
Over the course of an hour, he has had one person screaming at him to write more books and another person screaming at him to give me spoilers. So in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I am never going on the show with these two rednecks again. It is not happening. I'm done with them.
No, I love it. I love it, guys.
So, and I've told this 1,000 times. People that have watched the show know exactly what I'm probably going to end up saying. I think it's funny, but there's a lot of times when I walk into the comic book shop, there's a list on the counter, and it's everything that's getting ready to come out. It's the sign-up list.
Yeah, we pull everything out of previews and such, and we put it on a sign-up sheet on the counter so people can come in and say, oh, I want that, or I want that.
So every time I go to read the list and I go to sign up for something, my box number is already pre-printed in exactly what I want. So, and it aggravates me because Josh is taking that one little joy that I have out of my life. But at the same time, I know I'm going to get what I want. Well, the other day I walked in and I looked down and I see this book and I'm like, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Why does Josh think I want to read this? And the name of the book is Monomyth.
Monomyth.
And
then
off beside it, I saw Mad Cave and I went, okay, Josh, good job. You pulled another one. You know exactly what I So can you tell us a little bit about Monomyth? What is Josh getting me into?
Yeah, because that looks awesome. That's why I put you down on that.
Well, Monomyth, if you're a fan of Nottingham, well, Monomyth is written also by David Hassan. So I think it's going to be something that you're really, really going to enjoy if you like David's writing. And also by a very talented artist called Celia Lovovo. She's a tremendous artist, but this is your little bit of how can I say this? A little bit of Harry Potter, but for adults, maybe.
Okay.
Are you serious, Nick?
I'm at that movie theater watching this. Nick is the best. I love that guy. Jesus.
His wife is probably punching him in the arm, like, put your phone away.
Hey, we are a small YouTube channel, but our influence is felt everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true. So I'm sorry. Go back to Monomyth.
Don't worry.
Bit of Harry Potter for adults, you say?
For adults, yeah, it's kind of like your school of magic, but it's like descendants of this sacred bloodlines, and they basically just have to like train themselves, and they have to become this excellent wizards. But there's also like the chosen one, and it's got everything. It's got magic. It's super real. It's horror. It's got a lot of different tropes that I think that you guys are also gonna like. And it's David Hassan. I mean, so
that's an awful lot in its favor.
I think so, right?
Yeah. I read through previews. I saw that, and I said, "Yep, I know some people who are going to want this." Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry I took that joy from your life, Alan.
I know, but Josh doesn't understand. I do love books that has a horror element to them. So with you telling me a grown-up Harry Potter and horror element, it's like sold and sold. You know, I got to have that.
Well, plus with the same writer from Nottingham.
From Nottingham,
you want that?
Yeah. But also the book has a lot to deal with. Okay, who are the people that are being trained? Who are the descendants of these bloodlines? And you dig deep into the tragic past and how they have to confront each other and everything. So it's a very complex, entertaining story. So this I'm really excited for this. I'm excited for Exorcists Never Die. Really, I think that and I'm trying to not be biased, but I think that the next couple of books that we have in store for you guys, I think that you guys are going to be happily surprised.
So I have a question on Monomyth. At any point in any of the issues, does anyone say there can be only one?
I could neither confirm nor deny that.
Because I would love that.
Yeah, that would be. There can be only one. Fuck, I love the series too.
Just an issue with all throwaway 80s Easter eggs would be awesome. Just, oh my God.
You're right. We have to talk to David. Taking notes.
Do it.
Go ahead.
Gio is like, there's not enough 80s Easter eggs in here. I'm sorry.
What the hell? Yeah.
We want to bring Gio on now just so we can talk to her about how she can get what she wants put into scripts when you have no idea. Like, why did she tell me to do that?
I've got a feeling that Gio knows all the dirty secrets that I'm trying to get out of Mark.
I think it's 100% accurate.
Yeah. So we need to schedule her night on the show also. I pitched this idea last week to Kyle Higgins for an issue of No One, and I don't think it went over very well. So I'm going.
So you're going to try again?
Yeah, I'm going to try again, and I'm going to continue trying with every creator I meet until somebody finally says, "Okay, I'll do it." In an issue of Hunt, Kill, Repeat, I think you need a panel where there's a bald fat guy tending his garden and he yells at the gods, "Get off my lawn." And I think that bald fat guy in the garden needs to be me. So, I mean, it does not belong in the story, but, I've got to make my mark somewhere in the comic book industry.
Somehow, right? You got to put yourself in. Yeah.
And it might as well be that old, angry, pissed off guy screaming at somebody to stay off their lawn. I mean, I can pull that off.
Even if it's against a god.
Yeah, I don't care.
If he gets obliterated in the next panel, that would be even better.
That would be great.
Just guts everywhere. Just.
But at the end of the day, Zeus is going to get off my lawn. So which kind of circling back to Hunt, Kill, Repeat, and Josh saying gets obliterated. I kind of had this thought earlier, and I thought, okay, well, I'm about to talk to the man that could actually answer this question. So we see Zeus basically execute Julian. In
spoilers.
No, Josh, they've had 2 weeks to read this thing. We're on them now. It's on them. I guarantee. I did not guarantee spoiler free tonight. I've got a man that can answer my questions that I need answered. But we see Zeus execute Julian.
Mhm.
In this particular realm, with what's going on with the gods and everything, and I mean, this may not even be something that you're actually going to explore at some point. This is just kind of how my mind works and how bizarre I can get. How is someone's death and their soul actually handled now since the gods have returned to Earth?
That's a good question.
Oh yeah, I just basically ensured that he is never coming on this show again.
I'm gonna give you this because I'm also trying. I'm trying my best to redeem myself. Although I already know that I already did that, but I'm gonna give you something more.
Okay.
He's gonna
We
get a
might
big
see
head now.
Hades in the series.
Oh,
We may see him. We may not.
nice.
I will accept your answer. That's a very good answer. I think that's told me exactly what I needed to know without telling me what I needed to know.
I will
Yes.
accept your answer.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was very diplomatic of you. Bravo.
You got a 4.8 from the East German judge.
Yes. That was a great question, Alan.
That was a good question.
So I don't know.
He's
My
going to hit you
mind
later
works
with a question
bizarrely.
that's not that good, but you have to answer it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. Okay.
Do what?
I told him you were going to hit him later with a question that's not that good, but he has to answer it.
Oh, I'm going to hit you later on with a question that's going to make you go, "What the hell is wrong with this guy?" I mean, it's bad. I mean, it's nothing like that's going to get you in trouble, but it's bad. So with
But it's bad.
yeah, but it's bad.
But it's bad. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
but it's bad. You're going to say, "Yeah, this dude's an idiot."
It's not bad so much as it is silly.
Yeah.
So,
So with Hunt, Kill, Repeat, are y'all going to follow the same pattern with put out 3 to 6 or put out 6 books, take like a month or two off, put out so many books? Are y'all following that pattern?
that's the plan, Alan. But again, it just depends at this point with the state of the industry, and you know better than I do about this, Josh. I mean, it's just we're planning for sure. All the creative team wants to continue the series, but we have a solid plan that if the series needs to end with issue 6, we can. But if we can kind of like take it further because of the positive reaction of the book, and fans want it, we will continue, and hopefully. I always think that 3 volumes, 3 trade paperbacks, between 4 to 6 issues, I mean, that's the sweet spot. You can really tell a story. The better stories, I mean, they need to come to an end. You need a definitive end. It's how stories are supposed to end, of course. So it all depends. It all depends on the popularity of the book. So hopefully if we can sustain the series, I mean, we will keep going.
So
Y'all
long
go
story
buy it.
short, everybody buy a copy.
I
If
need
you feel
3
really,
volumes.
really cool about it, buy 27 copies.
Yeah, really.
Oh my
Look,
God! Wow.
Nick is already chiming in. In fact, Nick texted me earlier and was like, "Do not ask him that stupid ass question." No, that question is
now I gotta know. Now I gotta know.
Well, you know what? I'll just go ahead and ask now.
Go.
This question actually goes back to an argument that I had with someone at the shop who's going to remain nameless, Tom Price. And
yeah, we don't want to tell you his name, but his first initials are Tom Price.
Yeah, but his first initials are Tom Price.
He's a phenomenal artist, by the way.
And you being a writer, you can legitimately ask this question, and your answer will be more valid than his because you're a writer and he's an artist. And he's got to draw what you tell him to draw. So,
but okay.
You best go into the shop tomorrow wearing some body armor because Tom Price is going to whoop your butt.
Oh yeah. So basically, based on character development, I mean, we all know about character development. You understand it better than anybody else. Is Miss Piggy from the Muppets a femme fatale?
She can be. Absolutely.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much, Tom Price. That's me 6, and you 2.
Absolutely. That's how I see me speaking.
Mark has spoken. It is officially law now.
We've been asking people that question for what, 9 weeks now? Is that
Oh,
right?
God,
8
yeah.
weeks?
And it's, to me, the funny thing now is it's no longer the argument. It's to actually see the look on somebody's face when I ask them that question. Because it's somewhere between amusement, what the hell is wrong with this guy, and is this really what my career led to?
Dear God, what did I do? This is what
No.
people are asking me now.
I have to disagree. Look, we work in comics. We sell comic books. I mean, this is the world that we live. Sometimes, I mean, I have arguments about crazy stuff. At the end of the day, I mean, and I get home and my wife asks me, "So, what was your day like?" And yeah, I was seeing. I mean, trying to prove an editor or a publisher that if this guy can really lift, I don't know, a skyscraper or so. Again, I get it. For me, it's pretty normal.
Yeah.
For me, that's a pretty normal question. There you go.
It's like, my wife has never watched an episode of Shop Talk, and it's probably her favorite show that she's never seen because it means I'm not talking to her about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true. He doesn't bother his wife with this. Mine either. My wife will tell me, and I'll hear it tonight too. She's like, whenever you get really excited on this show, I can hear every word you're saying downstairs. Maybe at the other end of the house. She's like, maybe just tone it down a little because you're going to blast the eardrums out of whoever is watching this show. And I'm like, I'm sorry if I get excited. I can't help myself. This is great stuff.
So Nick has got a pretty good comment here. Unless he's missed it, he's not seen a superhero style book from Mad Cave. And he believes y'all could really pull off something awesome like Invincibles. Look, Nick, Spider-Man, the last time Spider-Man was good, they killed Gwen Stacy and she deserved it. Do y'all have any plans for a superhero style book, or is that not in the works?
We have something in the works. That's all I can say.
I don't like these cliffhangers, Mark. They're just not working for me. I need some dirt.
I said too much, Alan. I said too much. Already, man, you're making me work for it.
Okay.
Well, can you say this? Is it a single individual superhero or is it a group?
I like
Or
where
is
your
it
mind's
both?
at, Josh. I don't know. I don't know.
And on the flip side, what truly makes a good superhero cool is they have great villains. So they got to be going up against somebody really bad.
Sure. Yep. Well, this is gonna be a unique story. So I don't know. I mean, I can't talk about it, but we're working on something along those lines.
Well, what
But
can you
I'll
not
promise
tell
you
us?
that when we're closer to the date, you guys will be the first to know. Promise.
There we go.
I love the fact that he's telling me he can't talk about it, but you can tell by the look on his face he really wants to talk about it.
Of course. I mean, you guys are just like so manipulative. My
Well,
God.
I'm a really good listener, Mark, and I'm here for you now.
Tomorrow, I'm the one that is going to have to wear body armor to the office because they're going to be like,
sorry,
why?
guys, I just spilled the beans.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why? I mean, you were not supposed to say that. So, and remember, the CEO next to the name, I mean, at that company means nothing. So
I do have another question that I ask all creators, and this one's kind of, it's not a stupid question. And I am kind of, I do like seeing the reactions because some of them are just like, no. And the others are just like, I mean, they get just as excited as we do. Do you still have time? Are you able to still like go to a comic book store and pick up books? Do you still get to enjoy the hobby itself, or has between writing and being a CEO, has it kind of taken that aspect away from you?
a little bit, and I have to be honest, a little bit. because when you're surrounded by this stuff all day long, I mean, that's really it starts getting to you a little bit, and especially when things don't go your way. Sometimes you kind of like resent it a little bit. So something that brings you so much joy and it's not going the way that you wanted, but it's also, I mean, your hobby, your passion. So you start getting a lot of like conflicting, I don't know, feelings towards the whole thing. But the thing is that I'm trying to be exposed to this like clockwork. So, for example, and I think that it's Stephen King who said this for writers, like when you're not writing, you should be reading. So I try to keep that constantly in my life. So always before I go to bed, I'm either with my Kindle or I'm with my iPad, where it's either a book or I'm reading a comic book. Even if it's just a few pages, if it's a first of number one that I really wanted to check out, I really try to keep tabs on everything that is coming out. Not only because I enjoy it, because I'm really, really a fan of this, but it's also because it's my job to be in the know of what is coming out and what other people are coming with and what people are enjoying and what people are liking. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But I try to still keep my enthusiasm intact when it comes to comic books and movies and games and TV shows that I really, really like and enjoy.
So now you mentioned a quote from Stephen King. Who are some of your favorite authors that are not comic related? Now, I did tell you earlier that I do kind of read what's probably considered an unhealthy amount of everything. So I mean, I'm all over the map when it comes to reading.
Well, for me, it's a little bit of everything. I really like Stephen King. I really like the latest book by Alan Moore. That was fantastic. I really like Lord of the Rings. I really like Narnia. I really like the Witcher books. I really like what other series? It's called the Blade Trilogy. I think by Joe. Hold on. Joe Cumberbatch. Joe. Well, it's the Blade Trilogy. It's kind of like a little bit of a not Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. So I'm pretty invested in those type of books, fantasy books. In the Name of the Wind. I try to keep on top of that stuff. So
do you think he's
those
ever
are
going to
really
write the third book?
I lost hope, Josh. I really lost hope.
I did too.
Because,
I like threw in the towel. The
no.
man said that before he ever had book one published, he had all three books written, and he's just going back through and kind of editing them down. But he comes out with book one. He takes forever to come out with book two, and then book three, I don't think is ever coming.
Yeah. Kalisa, thank you. Joe Abercrombie. Yes, the Blade Trilogy. Love you for that. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome.
Kalisa's
Your viewers are amazing. Yeah.
They are indeed.
So I'm sorry, going back to the Name of the Wind. No, I don't think that I heard lately. I don't know where I read somewhere that he's going through terrible depression and that he basically. I don't think that we're gonna get that third book, Josh. To be honest, I'm really, really sad because again, his prose is freaking unbelievable.
It's so amazing. Incredible. It's so incredible. Yeah. Did you read his little novella, The Slow Regard of Silent Things?
Yes. So good. So good.
So good.
So good.
So good. And I just want that third book so bad. Kind of like I would like George R. Martin to actually finish the Song of Ice and Fire. But I don't think that's going to happen either.
I really don't. I also lost faith there. So I don't think that we're going to get those two books, unfortunately.
I'm with you. And I don't want the last taste in my mouth to be season 8 of the show. Because the Game of Thrones, they when they ran out of what he had written, the show went. When they were just operating off of his notes, things went from feeling like they were earned to just like, well, we wrapped that up and we wrapped that up and we threw this, and wouldn't that be cool? Okay, let's throw that. And it really was painful. And I don't want that to be the last taste in my mouth from that whole world, because that world is so cool. And
it's amazing.
It's phenomenal. And that just really bothers me.
No, and I think that he said also in an interview that I think that because of everything that happened, I think that he's changing the ending. So with the books, if we get the books, hopefully we're going to get a different ending. And a whole new 8th season for that matter. We'll see.
They trashed that thing so hard, it may have left a bad taste in his mouth, and he's just walking away from it too.
For sure. Yeah.
Have you ever read this?
No, never.
All right. Scott Oden is a friend of mine.
Okay.
He's written several books, fantastic books. This series is one where he's always loved Tolkien. He loves Robert E. Howard, and he loves Tolkien.
Okay.
And he's always had a fascination with orcs from Tolkien.
Okay.
And he told me he wanted to write a story about an orc that was folded into Norse mythology.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's ridiculous. That will never work. You are out of your mind. So I made a bet with him, and I lost. I lost so hard because, God dang it, this is phenomenal. It fits so seamlessly. It fits so seamlessly into our world, into Norse mythology, what he has done. It's so good. This book is out. The book 2 is out, which is called Twilight of the Gods. And book 3 is about to come out. I just finished my beta read of book 3. And that's called The Doom of Odin. Holy smokes, incredible. And if you like a good, solid fantasy book, this is our real world, so you'll recognize the locations and things like that. But with a fantasy twist on it. And then the third book jumps back and forth between Midgard, our world, and the Norse afterlife in this ping pong fashion that shouldn't work, but it does. And he pulls out all the fantasy stops. It is insane. And it is 3 books worth of action in one book. It's outrageous.
Love it. I already know what I'm going to be reading this weekend. Thank you for that, Josh.
Based on what you've said, I think you would really dig this. His first book, which I still have, when he was sending out sample chapters to publishers and things back in the mid '90s, I still have one of his packs that he was sending out. And at that point, it was a Conan book. Years later, he turned it into a historical fiction book about a Phoenician mercenary and got rid of Conan out of it entirely. But so he's got Men of Bronze is what that one's called. He's got a book called Memnon. He's got a book called Lion of Cairo, which was also fantastic. So if you like to discover a writer like I do, and once you like their stuff, you want to check out what else they did, check out his stuff. Scott Oden is top notch.
Sold. Thank you. If you or Kalisa recommended it, I mean, it's just like, I'm there.
Dude,
awesome.
I'm telling you, Nick, if you haven't read this yet, you need to read this. I've known Scott for a long time. I have beta read every single thing he's ever published or everything he's put out. I remember back when he was writing Cyberpunk in the early 90s. Crazy stuff. But this trilogy of books is just utterly fantastic. And I would not have thought that he could go where he went in the third book. I thought this is insane. Nobody's going to want it. But the execution is so flawless that you're just knocked back on your heels. It's so good. And Gio, from your perspective, I'll tell you this. He's got a really cool group of beta readers. And he sent the book to his publisher. And we are so thorough as beta readers on the grammar, on everything. His publisher literally came back to him with 0 notes.
Jeez.
None.
Wow.
His editor did. And he's like, that's the first time that's ever happened. Like nothing even close to that has ever happened. His editor was like, "Your beta readers are awesome."
Well, thank you for the recommendation, Josh. Definitely I'm picking it up.
The third book is coming out here in a few months. Because we just wrapped up the beta read on that a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it ends the series with the third book, or he's going to continue writing?
No, he ends it with the third book.
Love it.
And the story, his story couldn't go in. He might could do tales set in the past with this, but there's nowhere else he can go with this. It's a definitive ending.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't disagree there, Nick. I would love to see this book in comic format. I think it would work really, really well.
So
that
actually brings up an interesting conversation, interesting question. I think interesting that Nick brought up. As comic book publishers, do y'all look at like the novel industry, so to speak, to see if there's things out there that would work as comic books and work with those authors? Or, I mean, is that kind of taboo on some level?
No. I mean, all the time. I mean, as publishers, I mean, when we're all constantly checking out, and if the writers want to do it, we're always willing to adapt certain material in graphic novel or comic book format, as long as it works. Sometimes, I mean, it doesn't work, and sometimes it just becomes like, okay, what's the point in this? But there's certain authors that we have approached in the past that they have been very successful, and that we're currently trying to develop some comic books from their work. So yeah.
While I'm on a roll, have you read any of Evan Winters? He's got a book called The Rage of Dragons. It's his first book, and it is his whole take on it is, look, fantasy books are not just the sole premise of like people from Northern European extraction, right? It's not just white people. So he has this fantasy novel, this fantasy world, and the world building is excellent. That has a very African feel to it.
Okay, cool.
It's extraordinary. I bought this. My wife and I went to the beach for a couple of days. She's a beach person. I despise the beach. I'm not made for that. People keep trying to rescue me and throw me back in the water. It's just not my favorite. But I bought this book at a bookstore down by the beach, and I was like, this looks pretty cool. So I've got something to do. And then I read the second one. And now the third one for that series is about to come out too. And it is very, 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 very good. And it's really refreshing because it's such a different perspective on things that kind of feel familiar otherwise, right? Because the familiar settings of dragons and this and that.
Yeah.
But it's a totally different view of it. And so it's really refreshing. It's visually very different. If you know what I mean, the camera in your mind's eyes, you're visualizing what you're reading. It's very different, and it's excellent. So Evan Winters' Rage of Dragons is his first book. I would also strongly recommend that one.
You're giving me pearls here, Josh. Thank you.
That's what I do. I just cast them out. Sometimes they're before Alan, so it's no good there.
I'm mainly here for comic relief. I mean, everybody needs an idiot. In fact, I think it was Nick said it best one night that if you watch Shop Talk, you've got a guy who really knows a lot about comic books and a bald dude who's got a lot of one-liners. And that's literally how he describes Shop Talk. And I've got something for him behind this hand right here.
Between the lines.
Yeah. So we've covered, Hunt, Kill, Repeat. Love it. Can't wait. Need more. I think the idea of putting out the trade paperback before the individual issues would work great for me.
Would work great for me.
It would work.
Maybe you just need to work there as an editor so you can read the scripts beforehand.
No, I could not work in the comic book industry as an editor because sometimes, and people that know me at work, my foul mouth will get in the way, and I just don't have time for HR. But we kind of got the hint and the idea that there might be something, a little superhero coming from Mad Cave soon. Is there anything that y'all have upcoming that you can kind of spoil for us and kind of tell us, hey, we've got this project coming up. It's not Exorcist Never Die or Monomyth. It's this over here that we haven't told anybody about, but I can tell you about it. What's something coming up that you're excited for?
Well, in a couple of weeks, I don't know if you've seen it, Josh or Alan. Maybe it's called "Don't Spit in the Wind."
We've got
By
a poster
Stefano.
on it up at the store. Yeah.
Okay.
We've got the poster up on the wall.
Okay, so that one I'm super excited. I mean, because Stefano is amazing. The art is something that you're not used to. It the story
I get a
it's
little bit of a
great.
Jeff Darrow vibe off of that art, just a little bit.
Yeah.
I get a little bit of a Jeff Darrow vibe. So when I saw the poster, I was like, okay,
yeah,
all right, I'm interested.
So a lot of people are digging some of the new covers that we have up on our website, and they're really looking forward to it. And the next book, which is coming down in a few months, it's called "You've Been Cancelled," and it's written by Kurt Pires and Kevin Castañedo. He's the illustrator, and it's this it's in the future, dystopian future, and basically just cancel culture in the future means more than just losing your job. It could mean losing your life. So that's all I'm going to tell you guys. But
so follow
keep an eye
to a
out
logical
for that.
extreme. I like it.
Yep. So those are the books that I'm really excited. I think that they're really page turners, and you guys are gonna have a blast. And also by Damp and Ocean, it's John Tiffany. His previous work, it was published in Europe, but we're kind of like going to reprint it through Mad Cave. And if you've seen Dan Panosian art, I mean, he's just off the charts.
Dan Panosian is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm really excited for John Tiffany Volume 1. I mean, I think it's such an amazing book. The art is gorgeous. Dan Panosian at his best. So you can also go wrong with that one.
No, you can't go wrong with that at all. That's fantastic. Alan went and got his storefolio out, so he's got something up his sleeve. What you doing, Alan?
It's funny that you brought up Dan Panosian because I got Black Tape #2 right here.
Oh, awesome. Okay. I'm really digging that book.
Phenomenal.
Yep. I really like everything that Dan does, really.
Yeah, but it's funny because it was also right beside Tales of Nottingham #2. So, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I thought, wait a minute, I think that's in my storefolio.
Yeah, it is indeed. It is indeed. Mm-hmm. Well, Mark, I can't tell you how grateful we are that you came on the show. We've been wanting to talk to you for a while, so I'm glad we got the chance to. I'm glad that Alan got enough spoilers to make him happy for a little while.
I'm satiated for the night.
You'll be okay for a little bit.
Yeah, we can put the monster back to bed for a little while. I think I'll be good. Hunt, Kill, Repeat. I got a great idea. Why don't we Detective Comics this thing and put it out every 2 weeks? Something to think about.
I told you he has a patience problem.
Yeah. Don't take any time off between volumes. Just keep pumping them out every 2 weeks until the story's done.
Until the story's done. Okay.
Yeah, until the story's done.
I'm taking note, Alan. I'm taking notes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Alan's full of great ideas. Just ask him.
Yep.
He'll be happy to share them. But really do appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you sharing with folks about the talent search. For the love of all things holy, people, if you are a comic book writer, if you're a screenwriter, if you are an artist, and you've been saying forever, well, boy, I'd sure like to get my chance to get into this business. I'd sure like my chance to do something. This is as good an opportunity as you're going to find to get in with a publisher who's doing some really cool stuff, has a great body of work. And I'm talking, you want some variety? Their stories run the gamut. I mean, you've got Battle Cats, you've got Western themed books, with Savage Bastards. You've got comedy books. You've got Wolvenheart. You've got books that are all over the place. Heck, there's a wrestling book. That was one Jay Sandlin did. There's anything.
Over the ropes.
They've got a really wide variety. So if you're thinking, well, I don't know if my style of art would match, don't cut yourself off at the knees. Enter the competition. It's not going to hurt you. The worst thing that can happen is they don't pick you. The best thing that can happen is that they pick you. And they cannot pick you if you don't enter the talent search. So enter the freaking talent search. I'm talking to a very specific handful of people, and you know who you are. You guys need to do this because I would like to buy books at the shop that have your name on them, that are published by Mad Cave, and then have you there to do a signing of your book at the store. That would be awesome for everybody. So let's just make it happen.
And if Mark puts me in Hunt, Kill, Repeat, Screaming at the Gods, I will sign your book for free. So I did want to say this right quick for everybody watching, whether you're watching tomorrow, day after tomorrow, 5 years from now, go to madcavestudios.com. You can sign up for their newsletter and you will get a nice little email calling you a cave dweller. Go do it. Sign up. They're putting out great content. And go buy every single copy of Hunt, Kill, Repeat on the shelves. So he will keep writing them because I need more of the story. You're doing it for Mark and for me.
For only a cup of coffee a month, you can support Alan.
Exactly. That's all you got to do. Look, a comic book is cheaper than Starbucks. Go to the comic shop. Keep these stories going. I need them in my life.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Mark, is there anything you want to tell folks before we sign off and let folks go for a walk or whatever it is they need to do?
Quick thing. First, thank you guys, Josh, Alan, for having me on the show. Thanks to you guys is that indie creators as myself, can get the word around. So I really kudos, tip of the hat to what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Also for all the people that have read Mad Cave Studios books, thank you for your support. And to all the Mad Cave team, those who are listening, I know that Gio has been with us since the beginning of the show and since the beginning of the inception of the company. So thank you for that. But really big shout out to all the Mad Cave team that it's killing it. It's killing it. And I couldn't be happier. Check us out. We're all over social media. Pick your poison, or just go to madcavestudios.com and sign up to the newsletter. We'll promise you that we will not spam you with our content, and you will be informed of everything that we're currently working on. And also we will let you know if you want to participate on our talent search. We will let you know when that is happening. So that's that. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. And go to your local comic shop. And if you live around here, that better be Haven Comics. But if you don't live around here, you're allowed to go to other stores. Go to your local comic shop. If they don't carry Mad Cave Studios, request it, ask for their books, because that's the only way they're going to know that they need to carry that is if people order it. So go in and order those comics. Support guys who are doing the right things the right way and telling good stories that have great art. If we want more of it, we have to put our money where our mouth is, because otherwise they can't publish it. So go forth and support these guys. Thank you all so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. I do feel like we have to have Gio on the show sometime because I think she's going to share some really cool stuff.
Oh, yeah, I need dirt on sure. Mark now.
That's right. Mark is going to take his wife out for a steak dinner because she's super awesome.
Yes.
And we are going to catch you guys next time. This is a remnant from our old quiz show days, but I like to use this video as our outro because as a child of the 80s, I think, Mark, you will get a very spy hunter kind of vibe off of this. Cool. So adios, everybody. Cool. We'll look forward to catching y'all next week.